There is a silence that ruins men, and it has nothing to do with what they say. It lives in the gap between what they earn and what they keep, between what they buy and what they actually need, between the life they perform for others and the life they are quietly destroying from the inside out. Most men will never identify this silence. They will chase higher salaries, better jobs, bigger apartments, and still feel the weight of something they cannot name pressing down on their chest every single morning. That weight has a name. It is the silent poverty trap. And right now, 99% of men are living inside it without knowing it exists. Drop the word control in the comments if you are tired of being a slave to your own impulses. Let that be your first act of financial self-mastery today. The Stoics were not monks. They were not poor philosophers whispering wisdom from caves. They were emperors, senators, commanders, and merchants, men who built real power in a brutal world. And what separated them from every other man of their era was not ambition. It was not talent. It was iron discipline applied to the relationship between their minds and their money. Seneca, one of the wealthiest men in all of Rome, wrote that wealth is the servant of the wise man and the master of the fool. He was not speaking in metaphor. He was describing a psychological war that every man fights every single day, and that most men lose without ever throwing a single punch. The trap is not poverty. The trap is the operating system that produces poverty regardless of income. Consider two men. The first earns well. He upgrades his car the moment he can afford the payments. He buys clothes to signal status to people who will forget him by next week. He bleeds resources on subscriptions he never uses, finances things he cannot own, and spends his nights scrolling through the curated lives of strangers. He is not living. He is performing, and every performance costs him, in capital, in time, in mental clarity, in sovereignty. This is the mediocre man's operating system, impulsive, status-driven, built on instant gratification and quietly catastrophic long-term consequences. Now consider the Stoic man. He does not buy to impress. He invests to build. He takes calculated risks with long-term precision. He spends aggressively on education, on health, on skills that compound over decades. He aggressively prunes every expense that serves the ego instead of the future. He is not cheap. He is precise. Every dollar is a decision about the man he is choosing to become. These are not two different income levels. These are two different operating systems, and the gap between them is not what is in the account. It is what is in the mind. Law 1. Inner wealth. Your bank account is a reflection of your inner world. Hand a man $1 million with a broken operating system and he will find his way back to zero. We have all seen it happen. The wealth landed and still they lost everything, because the capital flowed in but the mindset never changed, and the mindset always wins. Epictetus was born a slave. He owned nothing, and yet he was considered richer in wisdom than senators drowning in gold, because he understood that true wealth begins in the one territory no one can seize from you: your mind, your self-control, your capacity to want less than you have and build from that position of inner stability. Sovereignty over the self is the foundation. Without it, every financial gain is a castle built on sand. Law 2. Detachment. Seneca practiced what few men of great wealth have ever dared. He periodically lived as a poor man. Simple food, hard surfaces, no comfort. Not as punishment, as training. He needed to prove to himself repeatedly that money was his instrument, not his master. Because the moment you need money to feel safe, money owns you. The moment you cannot walk away from a golden cage, a salary you hate, a deal that compromises your values, a relationship built entirely on financial dependency, you are not a man with money. You are a man controlled by it. Financial self-mastery is not about income. It is about whether your decisions come from clarity or from fear. The man who negotiates without desperation closes better. The man who invests without panic holds positions that build real wealth. The man with the sovereignty to walk away from anything that does not serve his long-term vision is the man who ultimately controls his financial destiny. Law 3. Time as supreme currency. Seneca wrote that the problem is not that we have little time, it is that we waste so much of it. Money lost can be rebuilt. Time spent is gone permanently. Every hour surrendered to empty consumption, mindless scrolling, entertainment that does not sharpen you, is capital burned with nothing to show for it. Memento mori. Remember that you will die, and because you will die, every hour is a decision about what kind of man you are choosing to be before that moment arrives. Marcus Aurelius governed the most powerful empire on earth. During military campaigns, during years of plague, during political collapse, he still carved out hours for study, for reflection, for the relentless refinement of his operating system. Because a man who stops learning stops growing, and a man who stops growing begins to lose, slowly, silently, without ever seeing it coming. Cut 1 hour of daily distraction. Invest it in building your value. Do this for 1 year without stopping. The results will be unrecognizable. Law 4. Strategic frugality. Marcus Aurelius had access to every luxury the Roman Empire could produce. He chose precision. He understood that every unnecessary luxury is another chain, not around the wrist, but around the will. Strategic frugality is not deprivation. It is the discipline to ask before every purchase, does this serve my growth, or does it serve my ego? Seneca ran a simple exercise. He would ask himself, if I lost everything tomorrow, what would I truly miss? The answer separated the essential from the noise with brutal clarity. Apply that question to your last 30 days of spending. The honesty of your answer is worth more than any financial plan. Law 5. Silent abundance. The most powerful man in the room is the one no one can read. The man whose depth is invisible to those who are not paying close attention. True abundance does not need an audience. The Stoics called it silent power, and they built empires with it. The man who posts every purchase, who needs the world to confirm his worth, who measures his value through the reaction of strangers, that man is not wealthy. He is performing wealth while burning capital on approval. And that trade never pays. When you stop spending energy managing the image others hold of you, something shifts. You begin channeling that energy into building real, compounding, silent wealth. Wealth that requires no applause. Wealth that no one can threaten because no one even knows it exists. Law 6. Invest in yourself. Of all the investments available to a man, one outperforms every market, every asset class, every financial instrument ever created. Seneca dedicated hours each day to study and philosophical refinement, not because he had spare time, but because he understood that every hour invested in his mind returned multiplied across every domain of his life. The knowledge you carry cannot be repossessed. The skills you develop cannot crash overnight. The precision of thought you build through iron discipline will outlast every market collapse, every job loss, every economic disruption. Assets depreciate. Character compounds. Commit to 1 hour per day of deliberate self-development. Treat that hour with the same seriousness you would apply to $1 million position, because in terms of long-term return, that is exactly what it is. Law 7. Independence from desire. The consumer economy has one objective: make you believe you are incomplete without the next purchase. Every advertisement is engineered to manufacture an artificial emptiness that only spending can fill. Marcus Aurelius, who could have owned anything in the known world, concluded that very little is needed for a life of depth and power. That was not the philosophy of a man who had never tasted luxury. That was the verdict of a man who had consumed everything available and found that none of it delivered sovereignty. The hedonic treadmill, desire, acquire, adapt, desire again, is the most sophisticated financial prison ever constructed, and most men are sprinting on it while calling it success. Practice the 72-hour rule. Before any non-essential purchase, wait 3 days. Watch how many desires dissolve under the pressure of patience alone. Law 8. Disciplined generosity. Seneca was known for his generosity with friends, students, and strangers, not as performance, not as charity engineered for social approval. Real generosity, offering value, knowledge, time, and resources without expectation, builds networks of trust that become the most powerful sources of opportunity a man will ever access. He understood that sharing his wealth did not diminish what he had. It multiplied what he was: reputation, influence, deep relationships built on real value. These carry more financial weight in the real world than capital locked in any account. Law 9. Financial patience. The Stoics knew that lasting wealth is built slowly, with precision, brick by brick, and that urgency destroys everything meant to endure. Most men quit too early. They start building and abandon the work the moment results fail to appear on schedule. The Chinese bamboo grows nothing visible for years, while its roots spread deep underground. Then it breaks the surface and rises 25 meters in 6 weeks. The growth looked sudden. The preparation was years in the making. Measure your progress in years and decades. Ask yourself what you are doing today that will thank you in 10 years. That single shift in perspective will transform every financial decision you make from this point forward. Comment discipline, if you are committed to playing the long game. Law 10. Wealth with purpose. Money accumulated for its own sake is a cup that is filled but never drunk. Marcus Aurelius wrote that what we do in life echoes in eternity, not as a statement of ego, but as a command to build something that outlasts you. When your wealth is connected to a purpose larger than yourself, 3 things happen that money alone can never produce. Your motivation becomes inexhaustible because purpose is infinite fuel. You attract men who share your vision and want to contribute to it. And you find a peace that most wealthy men never experience, because you know that what you are building carries weight beyond your own balance sheet. Write down what you would build if capital were not a constraint. What impact would you create? Who would you elevate? What would you leave standing after you are gone? Those answers are the map of your true wealth. Follow that map with iron discipline, and the resources required will appear as the natural consequence of the value you are creating. The Stoics had no financial apps, no algorithmic tools, no investment platforms, and yet they understood what most modern men still have not grasped. Wealth is an internal operating system that expresses itself externally. Upgrade your mind, and you upgrade your money. Master your desires, and you master your financial destiny. True poverty is not the absence of capital, it is the absence of discipline. And discipline applied with precision and consistency creates a prosperity that no crisis can destroy, no market can shake, and no circumstance can take from you. Your next decision is where it begins, not next Monday, not next year, now, like this video if it cut through the noise. Share it with one man who needs to hear it. Join the 1%, subscribe to Stoic Thoughts, and leave one word in the comments that you are carrying out of this video and into your life starting today. Stay stoic, build in silence, let the results speak.